Hey, who turned out the lights? Sorry, we're in a library now, too.
Oh no.
Welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Scint.
I'm Axion.
And we are continuing our discussion of There's No Floor. Our discussion of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows while we play through Final Fantasy V. So, kind of picking up where we left off on last episode, where we talked about, the importance of education in the context of a greater society, and how, controlling education gives you the means to basically control the populace as a whole. However, there is the fact that gets brought up quite a lot. Education doesn't always prepare you for everything you face once you get out of school. And I don't think there's any clearer indication of that than watching Harry, Ron, and Hermione fail their way through the forest on the world's worst camping trip.
These guys are flying.
Yeah, Hogwarts is meant to prepare you for a long and fulfilling life as a contributing member of Wizarding Society, as they sit depressed and angry with a cursed locket in the Saddest tent that smells funny.
Oh, I just did this.
With no access to real food. Because, to be fair, they did run out on last-minute notice and, couldn't really do much. But, I don't know, there's a level of humor in it. Maybe I'm a bad person.
I mean, it's funny in a schadenfreude sort of way. Where it's like, I wouldn't consider this quite as funny if I was in their situation, because that would suck. But
actually, this is my question about their situation. One of their biggest complaints is that they don't have sufficient food, and what they have, they don't really have the means to prepare properly. But they've also established the power of house elf magic, and they're on better terms with Kreacher, who is technically, Harry is his master by Sirius's will. Why don't they just summon Kreacher?
If you had asked me that before I read the book, I would have said something along the lines of, they don't want to treat him like a servant. They don't want to make him just their gopher, their pawn. But when Harry and Kreacher kind of make up at the beginning of the story, Harry then proceeds to use him at the rest of the book as a fairly traditional wizard would make use of a house elf.
He just, doesn't throw rocks at him or something like Lucius Malfoy would.
Yeah, I mean, he treats him... I hesitate to say well, because that gets back
that
into
whole
the
thing.
Whole thing of... Yeah, of the whole...
With the morality system presented to us by her sensitivity herself, J.K. Rowling, Harry treats Kreacher, quote, well-registered trademark. That about sum it up?
Yeah. For lack of a better way to put it, yes. It's increasingly frustrating having to try and put these things into words.
Oh, I know, but just my thing is, if they're already rationalizing everything else they're doing for the greater good...
The greater good.
Yes, good out of your system. And they're clearly struggling with the fact that they're not able to eat regularly, and they need to be at the top of their game to find the stuff they're looking for, and Kreacher is already in on what they're looking for, and is on better terms with them, and has magical capabilities that they physically can never have, and they need every resource at their disposal. It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to not make use of Kreacher as, an ally and a resource.
Yep, and that's what I was getting at was, if you'd asked me this before I read the book, that would have been my reason. They were like, they don't want to use him as a servant. But they're doing that anyway, so at this point it's either they're worried that the bad guys can somehow track Kreacher, or they're just not thinking of it because they're dumb kids.
Probably dumb kids. But yeah, There are so many things that go wrong with their little journey. Like, first they have to flee in the middle of the wedding, so they're still dressed up in wedding guest clothes, and no shortage of comments on that from people. They're promptly attacked, and they have to run from that. They have to very, very carefully navigate through 12 Grimmauld Place while they are first getting settled into hiding there and trying to figure out their plan of attack regarding the Horcruxes. While they are on the run, they are completely cut off from information about what's going on with the rest of the world until Ron runs away and then comes back and tells them about Potter Watch, the radio show, which is run by Lee Jordan, among others. Ron can't even apparate and has flinched himself multiple times in the process, which, was something they had started to learn in the last book, but yeah, it's kind of a mess. The amount of blood that they talk about having to clean up because of said flinching is concerning. And just, you can tell that even Hermione, who knows the most about what they're working with, is out of her depth with actual real-world application stuff, because she's really, really good in a classroom setting, also really good at improvising, more so than the others tend to be when it comes to coming up with spells on the fly, but they're still just kids and making bad judgments, like, oh, we should go to Godric's Hollow, where there is a trap promptly laid for them that they fall right into and gets Harry's wand shattered. So, that worked out pretty good. They then go to Xenophilius Lovegood to ask about the symbol of the Deathly Hallows, which makes no sense for them because, well, it's a fairy tale, and they're looking for Horcruxes, but Dumbledore must have given it to us for a reason. Thankfully, he did, or they would have been wasting their time there and gotten caught by the Death Eaters for absolutely nothing, but there's just so much lack of common sense in what they do, and it's only excusable because they're just kids, really. But the mistakes they make cost people their lives, like Dobby and Griphook, and we don't know how long Mathilda Bagshot's been dead, but if she hadn't been possessed by Nagini for that long, she'd have been one of the casualties too. So, then there's everything at Hogwarts. Like, they get a war started there just to give them time to find and destroy the Horcruxes. And it gets a whole lot of really close friends of theirs killed. Like Tonks, Lupin, Fred.
What is the final, death toll like?
Let's see, there's those three that I've just mentioned. Colin Creevey. There's a whole bunch more they'd mentioned, but I can't remember. Oh, Snape, I guess. That's its own issue.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention Snape, but...
Oh, Wormtail's dead too, because he hesitated for a second and helped Harry, and the arm Voldemort gave him throttled him.
Yep, choked himself to death with his own magic hand.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Oh well.
I was about to say, I can't say I'm super upset about that, but it is technically a death toll.
I'm just looking at people who were nominally at least allies in some way in the fight against the Death Eaters, who, through the decision-making of the main three, got killed. Not through their actions, but just through the Death Eaters' actions, Ted Tonks, because he was on the run as a Muggleborn, and didn't want his wife and daughter and grandson to be implicated by association, so he ran away. He got caught and killed.
Yep. As you do, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's just... But really, isn't this the situation that school could have prepared them for in any sense of the word? Like, hey kids, here's your survival test on how to go on the lam when the government has been taken over by the wizard Nazis. I don't think there's any course that really could prepare them for that. Like, some things are just, well, you learn them on your own the hard way, or your parents teach them to you, because, like, yeah, like, public school, for example, there's cooking classes, but how many people take those and actually really learn how to be good at cooking? How many people actually take personal finance in school and they remember it for the rest of their lives and therefore have no problem doing their taxes as adults? Because most schools I've been to offer both of these things. And, well, if you're trying to teach this to a 14-year-old, good luck! So yeah, it's just one of those situations. But I did think it bore at least some mentioning, given how much time we put on the importance of education, is to note that for all that it is important, there are some things that it can't make up for. Life experience and common sense, for one, but for two. Anything to add?
Not particularly. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say beyond, of course, that you didn't get prepared for this. This was... Nobody goes into school that is not already in a war zone with the expectation of you're going to need to be trained for war. That's just not how things work.
Yeah, fair.
Feel finished Spellblade. Awesome. What do I want to train next?
Well, as you figure that out, I guess that's probably as good a place as I need to call it. So, we will see you next time.
Next time.
Bye.